General Hospital will reveal Willow left Port Charles in complete silence, not the kind of silence born from peace, but the kind that masks the storms raging within her mind. No one knew she was leaving, there were no goodbyes, and no one could have stopped her even if they tried, because this was not merely a physical journey, but a spiritual reckoning with wounds that had never fully healed. After a series of heated and painful confrontations with Carly at Drew's house, Willow realized she could no longer live in uncertainty, torn between fragments of the past, the chaos of the present, and an unclear future. She didn't want second-hand stories or intermediaries, she needed to see Michael face to face. She had to hear the truth from his own lips, unfiltered, unspoken until now. No words could fully capture the whirlwind of emotions building inside her. Lingering pain, buried resentment, faint hope, and an overwhelming sense of longing had finally reached a boiling point. She couldn't wait any longer. Setting foot in distant Germany, where Michael was recovering in treatment, Willow carried with her a confession she had never dared admit to anyone, not even herself, that even though she had signed legal documents binding her to Drew, a man she convinced herself could offer a new beginning, her heart still couldn't let go of Michael. The man who had once been her world. Her husband. The father of her children. This journey wasn't a rash decision. It was deliberate, a pivotal turning point that could reshape her entire life. She wasn't just a wife searching for her estranged husband, she was a woman confronting her own failures, facing her emotional limits, and grappling with the terrifying possibility that if she didn't do this now, she might never get another chance. And with her departure, one truth began to surface: Michael Corinthos had indeed returned. But as news of his return began circulating through the General Hospital fan community, the biggest question became, who would now play the role of Michael? Theories exploded across social media, Reddit threads, and soap opera forums. One name stood out above the rest: Drew Garrett. The actor who previously portrayed Michael from 2009 to 2010 had recently resurfaced on Maurice Benard's podcast, State of Mind, stirring immediate curiosity. His reappearance on a show so closely tied to the General Hospital cast and storyline seemed far from coincidental. Garrett's nostalgic and emotional reflections on his time as Michael only fueled speculation that he may be stepping back into the role, not as a stranger, but as a familiar soul returning with newfound depth and complexity. Garrett's presence on a podcast hosted by Maurice Benard, who plays Michael's father, Sonny, was more than a casual guest spot. The chemistry, the shared memories, and the subtle hints toward coming home pointed strongly to a narrative far more intricate than what fans first assumed. If Garrett does return, it won't simply be a recasting, it would be a symbolic resurrection. A new Michael, shaped by years of absence and unseen trauma, could bring an emotional weight that transforms the character and storyline altogether. Meanwhile, behind-the-scenes developments added more layers of intrigue. Robert Adamson, who had temporarily stepped into the role of Michael, made a surprising move on social media when he expressed public frustration about not being allowed to read upcoming scripts. Though the post was quickly deleted, it was enough to confirm that he had likely been excluded from the show's long-term plans. As everyone knows, nothing truly disappears from the internet, and this only intensified speculation that a dramatic casting shakeup was underway. Other names have been tossed around, including Rory Gibson, who sparked whispers after following several core GH cast members and coaches on social media. But despite these theories, Drew Garrett remains the most compelling candidate. His return wouldn't just mark a casting decision, it would signify a revival. A Michael with more layers, more pain, and more realism. Someone who could stop Willow in her tracks the moment she lays eyes on him for the first time in years. And Willow, caught between guilt and hope, between Drew's dependable presence and Michael's enduring hold on her heart, is entering a chapter filled with uncertainty. She doesn't know what she'll find behind the doors of that German clinic, a hug, a cold stare, or a painful truth that it's already too late. But one thing is certain, the man on the other side is no longer the Michael she once knew. And the new face that viewers see could either send shockwaves of excitement or leave them speechless in disbelief. That final reveal rests in the hands of General Hospital. But one way or another, Port Charles is on the brink of a seismic shift. In addition to Drew Garrett, Rory Gibson, the actor who formerly portrayed Noah Newman on The Young and the Restless, has also emerged as a potential contender in the swirling rumor surrounding the recasting of Michael Corinthos on General Hospital. While Rory has no direct connection to the character of Michael, his recent online activity has raised eyebrows within the soap opera fan community. Seemingly minor actions, such as following key GH cast and crew members on social media, including Caitlin McMullen, Willow, veteran acting coach Holly Gagnier, and even several well-known scriptwriters, have triggered speculation that Gibson may have quietly auditioned for, or even secured, the role of Michael behind the scenes. Adding to the intrigue are a series of cryptic social media posts by Gibson, featuring ambiguous captions and suggestive emojis that fans believe are subtle hints of a major role on the horizon. The timing of his online interactions aligns suspiciously well with the rise of casting rumors, particularly after news broke that a replacement for Michael was being actively pursued. What might seem trivial to the untrained eye has become vital intel for fans, who are piecing together every detail like a puzzle, and Rory's name keeps coming up as a serious possibility. Despite the buzz surrounding Gibson, Drew Garrett remains the frontrunner in the minds of many fans, not only because of his past experience in the role, but also due to his more recent and meaningful connections to key figures in the General Hospital universe. Garrett's appearance on the State of Mind podcast, hosted by Maurice Bernard, Sonny Corinthos, wasn't brushed off as a coincidence. The podcast, known for its intimate discussions and its focus on mental health and personal growth, rarely features guests who lack strong ties to the soap's legacy. Garrett's presence and heartfelt reflections about his time on GH were interpreted as far more than nostalgia; they were seen as an invitation to envision a return. Throughout the podcast, Garrett spoke with warmth, gratitude, and what some interpreted as longing, as though he were preparing both himself and the audience for a homecoming. He wasn't just reminiscing, he was reopening a door. If Garrett were to reprise the role, it wouldn't merely be a recast, it would be a reinvention. He would bring to the character a new emotional depth, honed by life experience and years of acting growth, making him an ideal candidate to portray a Michael who has endured trauma, separation, and perhaps transformation. Meanwhile, behind-the-scenes reports continue to add fuel to the speculation. Robert Adamson, who temporarily filled the role of Michael, made headlines when he publicly expressed frustration on social media about not being granted access to upcoming scripts, a move that all but confirmed his exclusion from the character's long-term trajectory. Though the post was swiftly deleted, the damage had been done. In the digital age, nothing posted online ever truly vanishes, and this misstep only solidified theories that a major casting shift was underway. Other subtle clues have cropped up across platforms, including Rory Gibson's growing interaction with GH insiders and possible hints dropped by members of the show's production team. Still, no matter how many names are thrown into the mix, Garrett's remains the most plausible and emotionally resonant option. His return wouldn't just bring back a familiar face, it would signal a rebirth of the character, enriched with complexity, pain, and maturity that would inevitably shake Willow to her core. And Willow, now consumed by emotional instability and a longing for clarity, finds herself lost in a storm of her own making. Following her explosive clash with Carly and her ill-advised move to live with Drew, she signed a legal document granting him guardianship over her and Michael's children, a reckless act that could jeopardize her entire future as a mother. In Drew, she had sought safety and security. But that choice, driven by fear and uncertainty, may now come back to haunt her. Now, as she turns back toward Michael, the man who left Port Charles without a word, she once again finds herself at a crossroads. What kind of man awaits her in Germany? Will it be a hardened and distant stranger, or someone still capable of love and forgiveness? Will Michael welcome her with open arms, or walk away once again? Willow doesn't know, and perhaps that's what terrifies her the most. One thing is certain, this isn't just a personal moment between two former spouses. It's the calm before the storm in Port Charles. The return of Michael Corinthos, regardless of who portrays him, is destined to be a catalyst. A new face, whether the familiar Drew Garrett or the wild-card Rory Gibson, could propel General Hospital into its next dramatic chapter. And with it, the delicate balance of power, emotion, and family could be upended in a single, unforgettable moment. All of this is unfolding as Carly continues to fight relentlessly to protect the well-being and future of her grandchildren, Wiley and Amelia, holding fast to what she sees as a sacred duty that she refuses to relinquish. Carly, known for her fierce loyalty and unshakable will, does not forgive easily, especially when it comes to those who have caused harm to her family. To her, Willow's actions are not just a betrayal of Michael, her son, but a betrayal of the innocent children who need stability and unconditional love, not impulsive decisions made by a mother lost in her emotions. Carly has watched her family unravel. With Michael now emotionally and physically distant, she feels she has no choice but to be the sole voice of reason, the only one fighting to keep things intact. While Willow chases after the fragments of her heart, Carly stands guard over what remains, bearing the weight of responsibility not only as a grandmother, but as a guardian of everything her family once stood for. Her anger toward Willow isn't just rooted in disappointment, it's infused with heartbreak, and a fear that today's careless choices could lead to irreversible consequences tomorrow. While Carly continues her quiet yet fierce battle in Port Charles, Willow finds herself caught in a storm of uncertainty, drifting between the past, the present, and a future that seems increasingly out of reach. She no longer knows what's right or who to trust, nor whether this trip to Germany will bring clarity or simply more confusion. She is a woman pulled in three different directions. In the past, she was a devoted wife and a selfless mother. In the present, she's entangled with Drew, the man many blame for tearing her family apart, and in the future, she sees only shadows, a blurry horizon obscured by doubt and unresolved pain. Her heart urges her to find Michael, to confront the man she once loved, not to cast blame, but to unearth a truth buried under silence, rumors, and fear. And yet, her mind warns her that it might already be too late. That she may have strayed too far by aligning herself with Drew, a man to whom she not only turned for comfort, but to whom she legally gave guardianship over her children in the event of her incapacitation. That one signature could cost her everything. What haunts her most is the unknown. Has Michael changed beyond recognition? Does she still matter to him? Can he forgive her for the choices she's made? Or will he turn his back, just as silently as he once walked away from Port Charles? Willow isn't just seeking a man. She is seeking herself. The woman she once was, the one who believed in love, who anchored her life in family and sacrifice. But that woman is now fractured, lost beneath the weight of regret, broken dreams, and the creeping feeling that the world has moved on without her. This trip to Germany has become more than a journey, it is a final test. A confrontation with the past, with the heartbreak left unspoken, and with the possibility of accepting a future she no longer controls. She doesn't know what she'll find, open arms, a cold rejection, or something more complicated. But she knows that if she doesn't face it now, she will carry the weight of that choice for the rest of her life. Back in Port Charles, Carly continues her battle, quiet but fierce, determined to shield Wiley and Amelia from the fallout of their parents' unraveling lives. Willow must now not only confront Michael, but also the silent yet piercing judgment of Carly, her former mother-in-law, who has always placed family above emotion. A storm is gathering, rumbling just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to erupt, a storm that could wash away the last remnants of a once loving family, unless someone finds a way to bring peace before it's too late. When the weekly General Hospital preview clip aired, just a few short seconds were enough to ignite a surge of excitement and anticipation throughout the fanbase. The image of Willow standing alone in front of a medical center in Germany, holding a patient file in her hand, her eyes filled with visible worry and determination, immediately struck a chord with viewers. There was no dialogue, no dramatic soundtrack, only the quiet sound of her breath and the faint whisper of wind against the cold exterior of the clinic. Yet, it was that silence that spoke the loudest, heightening the emotional tension and drawing the audience in. Willow wasn't just standing at the threshold of a hospital. She was standing at the doorway of her past, her memories, and all the unanswered questions that had long been buried. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for the door, a subtle but powerful symbol of the moment. Was she ready to open the door to a new chapter, or was she still trapped in the weight of guilt and regret? This wasn't just a scene crafted for drama, it was a deeply psychological beat that echoed the journey she has taken and the consequences she now must face. What made the moment even more compelling was the intentional ambiguity in the preview's editing. As the clinic door slowly opened, the camera deliberately avoided revealing who was on the other side. Instead of a clear shot of a face, viewers were shown a side angle, a shadow, or perhaps a silhouette, leaving space for imagination and speculation to run wild. Would Michael step out immediately, face clearly in view? Or would it be just the shadow of a tall man in a patient's robe, walking slowly into the frame, his identity still concealed? Would it be a familiar voice softly calling Willow's name from behind her? Or would there be a shocking twist, a stranger answering the door, someone holding the final secret to Michael's whereabouts? Instantly, social media lit up with theories. Many fans took the deliberate concealment as a sign that Michael would return in a completely new form, not just a recast, but a full transformation of the character's essence. And this is where Drew Garrett's name began to surface again, louder than ever. Drew Garrett, who played Michael more than a decade ago, is now the subject of intense speculation. Fans are envisioning a new Michael shaped by years of isolation and pain, brought to life by Garrett's more mature acting chops and emotional depth. No longer the teenage version of the past, Garrett could deliver a Michael who is hardened, reserved, and emotionally complex, a man who has faced unimaginable suffering during his time away. If Garrett is the one behind that door, this wouldn't just be the return of a familiar face, it would be a triumphant rebirth of a character long thought lost to time. This moment could also mark a dramatic shift for Willow. As someone who has increasingly lost her sense of clarity and direction, the reappearance of Michael, no matter who he is now, could turn everything she thought she understood upside down. Her expression in the preview, equal parts anticipation and dread, says everything. This is not just a reunion, it is a reckoning. A confrontation with unresolved emotions, with decisions made in fear, and with the echoes of a love that may not have faded after all. Though the clip was brief, it sparked a wave of analysis, speculation, and excitement. Fans debated Willow's emotional arc, questioned who truly belongs by her side now, and dissected every frame for clues. Yet above all, they circled around a single, burning question: is Michael really back, and if he is, who has he become? With carefully crafted visuals and the masterful withholding of information, the General Hospital production team successfully turned a quiet, subtle moment into the most discussed and anticipated plot point of the week. Viewers now wait, anxiously, hopefully, and fearfully, for a meeting that could forever change the fate of Willow, Michael, and all of Port Charles. The answer has yet to be revealed, but one thing is certain: Willow has entered a place of no return, a crossroads where every decision carries unpredictable consequences. And now, all viewers can do is follow the upcoming episodes, waiting to witness a shocking return that could completely alter the landscape of General Hospital.